data management is an extremely important activity within the AMR Accelerator. So there's many scientists who are working day to day in the laboratories, or they're running simulations in their computers, or they're working on in vivo models or in clinical trials. So we're generating huge amounts of data. And what we want to do within the project is to enable others to reuse that data at a later point. So not just for the original use case for working with the data, but that others in the wider scientific community can integrate those data with their data. So in order to do that, we have to do something called making the data fair. And FAIR stands for making it findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable. So we've devised a set of guidelines and best practices based upon community standards, and we're taking those and we provide those to all the different projects within the AMR Accelerator, and we run a very successful group with representatives from each of the projects coming along. They can bring in those guidelines. And then on top of those guidelines, we sort of create processes and plans. So we have data management plans, which are consistent across the accelerator. We have standards and templates, so people take the data and put it into a recognized standard. And then once they've done that, they can then use some of the tools and the infrastructure that we provide as well. So we have a set of tools called an electronic lab notebook. So when people perform their experiments, they're immediately able to record all of the information, all of the so-called metadata, which describes how an experiment was done. And those metadata are essential because you can't then repeat that experiment without that information. You can't then try and relate that experiment protocol to your own experiment protocol. So you need this context. So we really try to provide the software infrastructure and the tools. And one of the most important tools in doing that is the Grid42 software. And finally, what we're trying to do is also link those data out. So we're generating data within a relatively small bubble, within our small community. So what we want to be able to do is to have that data linked to all of the other public external data. So we use these tools called ontologies and data standards, and we're able to link our internal data to external data. And we use something called a knowledge graph. And that knowledge graph is a representation of the metadata and the data itself in a really easy to use visual form that allows non-expert scientists to be able to connect their data, their internal data, to the external world and the external data sets. And what that actually allows you to do then is, because you have this interoperability between your data and external data, you can create huge data sets. And huge data sets, as we all know from our time shopping on Amazon or typing searches into Google, you can then start to apply machine learning based methods and get additional insights into the data. So if you have large amounts of high quality data, which is fair, which is interoperable, you can reuse it in these use cases and get new insights into the science that you were doing at the outset of the program. So we have to really start from these really basic standards. We use the infrastructure, apply the standards, and then we get to a point where we can get much more value from the data than we had at the beginning. So it's a really exciting role that we have, and we're very happy to support all of the project teams within the AMR Accelerator with their data management mission.